Sussex gang. Can we talk about the irony for just a second? Because I don't think we've ever seen a clearer example of how the conversation around Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, has stopped being about what she actually does and started being about who is doing it. If you've been following this story for any length of time, you've probably noticed a pattern. Meghan can launch a charity initiative, someone calls it PR. She can release a podcast, it becomes controversy. She can support wildfire victims, it becomes a debate. She can make jam, and somehow the internet behaves as though she's threatening the constitutional order. Now she's appearing as a guest judge on MasterChef Australia. And once again, we're supposed to believe this is somehow scandalous. Seriously? Because from where I'm sitting, this isn't just another television appearance. It's one of the clearest examples yet of a woman reclaiming a part of herself that existed long before royal titles, palace walls, or tabloid headlines. And that's exactly why I think this story matters. Let's begin with the facts. Meghan is set to appear as a guest judge on MasterChef Australia Season 18. Her challenge is beautifully simple. Contestants must create a dish centered around a seasonal ingredient. But there's another requirement that caught my attention. She wants them to tell the story behind it. Not just what they're cooking, why they're cooking it. What memory does that ingredient unlock? Which family tradition does it represent? What childhood moment comes rushing back every time they taste it? Now tell me, doesn't that sound incredibly Meghan? Because if you've known Meghan's work before she ever became the Duchess of Sussex, you'll know that storytelling has always been at the heart of everything she does. Long before Buckingham Palace, long before royal protocols, long before people who had never heard of the TIG suddenly became experts on what Meghan should or shouldn't be doing. She was already writing about food, travel, culture, hospitality, wine, family traditions, the little rituals that make ordinary life extraordinary. Food, for Meghan, has never simply been about recipes. It's always been about connection, about memories, about bringing people together. So when headlines try to frame this as Meghan trying something new, I actually think they're missing the point completely. This isn't reinvention. This is restoration. She's not becoming someone different. She's becoming someone familiar again. And Sussex gang, can we please appreciate the symbolism here? For years, people kept saying, go back to what you were doing before the royal family. Well, isn't that exactly what she's doing? She's acting again through media. She's creating lifestyle content, she's talking about food, she's producing, she's hosting, she's judging, she's building businesses, she's supporting causes she genuinely cares about. In other words, she's rebuilding the life she had before the monarchy interrupted it. So here's the question that nobody seems eager to answer. If people spent years telling Meghan to move on, why does every attempt to move on suddenly become another controversy? That's the contradiction no one seems willing to acknowledge. And here's where the story becomes almost poetic. Think about the labels Meghan has collected over the years. She was supposedly too Hollywood for the royal family. Then, somehow, too royal for Hollywood, too ambitious, too polished, too commercial, too independent, too outspoken. Then, somehow, too quiet, too private, too visible, too invisible, too successful, not successful enough. At some point, the criticism begins to lose all internal logic, because the goalposts never stop moving. No matter which direction she walks, someone insists she's walking the wrong way. Which brings me to a conclusion I've been thinking about for a while. Maybe this has stopped being about what Meghan does. Maybe, for some critics, it's simply that Meghan is doing anything at all. Because honestly, When every single career move becomes evidence of failure before anyone has even seen the finished product, that's no longer criticism of the project, it's criticism of the person. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention, the television double standard. Because this is where things become genuinely fascinating. Some of the loudest critics are acting as though a duchess appearing on a cooking competition somehow diminishes the monarchy. Really? Let's remember a little history. King Charles appeared on MasterChef Australia years before becoming king. He has also appeared reading the weather on BBC Scotland. He's made light-hearted television appearances. Members of the royal family have appeared on entertainment programmes for decades. Camilla has appeared on MasterChef Australia as well. The late Queen embraced carefully chosen television moments throughout her reign. Even royal documentaries have existed for generations. None of those appearances were treated as constitutional emergencies. None prompted endless questions about dignity. None sparked week-long conversations about whether royalty should be on television. So why is Meghan's appearance suddenly different? That's a perfectly reasonable question to ask, because the royal family has never been strangers to television. In fact, television has been one of the monarchy's most important tools for connecting with the public. So if television itself isn't the issue, what exactly is? And this is where I think many supporters of Meghan see a double standard. When other royals appear on television, it's often framed as charming, refreshing, relatable, modern. But when Meghan appears on television, some commentators immediately reach for words like desperate, attention-seeking, or beneath a duchess. Same medium, similar type of appearance, completely different framing. Now, people will have different opinions about why that happens. Some believe it's simply because Meghan is a more polarizing public figure. Others argue it reflects deeper biases in the way she's covered compared with other members of the royal family. Wherever you land, it's hard to ignore that similar public appearances have often been described in very different ways, depending on who is making them. And that's a conversation worth having. What also strikes me is how perfectly this role fits Meghan's personal brand. Think about the common thread running through her projects. Hospitality, community, food, storytelling, women's entrepreneurship, family, connection. Whether you loved the TIG, enjoyed lifestyle content, followed her charitable work, or watched her newer projects. There's consistency. Strong personal brands don't chase every trend. They return to the values people already associate with them. That's exactly what this looks like. I also think Australia is a fitting place for this moment. Harry and Meghan's 2018 tour is still remembered by many as one of the most successful royal tours of recent decades. The crowds, the warmth, the enthusiasm, the genuine chemistry with the public. Returning years later, not as working royals carrying out official duties, but as independent public figures invited because of their own profile, sends a very different message. It's a reminder that influence doesn't always depend on palace approval. Sometimes it comes from building authentic relationships with audiences over time. And let's not overlook the challenge Meghan chose. She could have asked for the most expensive ingredients, the fanciest techniques, the most elaborate presentation. Instead, she asked for nostalgia. That tells you everything. She's interested in what food means, not just how it looks, because every family has that one recipe, every culture has that one dish, every childhood has a smell that instantly takes you home. Food becomes memory. Memory becomes identity. That's something everyone understands, regardless of where they come from. It's universal, and perhaps that's why this appearance feels so genuine. It's rooted in something she's spoken about for years. So, Sussex gang, here's my takeaway. This isn't just a guest judging role. It's another chapter in Meghan's long journey of reclaiming the parts of herself that existed before royal life. Not to erase the past, but to build a future on her own terms. Whether it's food, storytelling, business or philanthropy, the common thread is remarkably consistent. She's leaning into passions she's had for years rather than trying to fit into someone else's idea of who she should be. And perhaps that's what resonates most with her supporters. Not that she's trying to become someone new, but that she's increasingly comfortable being herself. So I'll leave you with this question. If a member of the royal family appearing on television has been considered relatable, modern and engaging for decades, why does the conversation change so dramatically when it's Meghan? Is it simply because she's no longer a working royal? Is it because she's one of the most scrutinized women in the world? Or does it reveal something about the way we evaluate public figures through different lenses? Whatever your answer, one thing seems clear. A guest appearance on a cooking show has become far more than a television moment. It's become another lens through which people project their opinions about Meghan herself. And perhaps that's the biggest story of all, because while critics continue debating whether she should be there, Meghan seems to be doing exactly what she said she wanted to do years ago. Building a life around the passions that have always mattered to her. And honestly, that may be the most authentic recipe she's served yet. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and join the conversation below. I always love hearing your thoughtful perspectives. Until next time, Sussex gang, take care of yourselves, keep questioning the headlines, and I'll see you in the next one.